Good afternoon, folks. We are going to give everyone just another minute or two to sign in to our webinar today. And I'm going to take my screen share off because I've lost one of my user buttons. So just a moment. All right. Good afternoon, folks. My name is Abby Getman-Skillicorn. I am the Special Projects Manager for Massachusetts Farm to School, and I welcome you here today to learn a little bit more about minimally processed. What does that mean? The Northeast Food for Schools grant program does have a priority for eligible products. They must be unprocessed, like whole fruits and vegetables or whole cuts of meat as examples, or they can be minimally processed foods. So today's webinar is to dive a little bit deeper into the types of products that school districts who are using NFS funds can request reimbursement for. Today, we'll go over the guidance from USDA on minimally processed foods. We will go through examples by product category. I'll go through some resources that Massachusetts Farm to School has, and we have some other reminders. For housekeeping today, please use the Q&A function for any of your questions. This is set up as a webinar this afternoon, so the chat function is only for us to share out links with you as resources. So please send in any of the questions that you have into the Q&A function. And yes, this is being recorded for future reference. So moving forward, Mass Farm to School, we are an organization that strengthens local farms and fisheries, and we promote healthy communities by increasing local food purchasing and education at schools. We offer a variety of professional learning opportunities, both for food and nutrition service professionals, as well as educators. We offer networking, we work on policy and advocacy and other kinds of communications that can support the work that you're doing in your schools to serve local foods in the classrooms and cafeterias. I would also note that Mass Farm to School is the contracted outreach provider on the Northeast Food for Schools grant with the Department of Education Office of Food and Nutrition Programs. So diving right in, USDA examples of allowable NFS products. So this is pulled directly from the local Food for Schools frequently asked questions website. And so USDA basically provided this example to help identify what is allowable. So again, today's webinar is going to be more about, you have your whole products figured out, you know, your salad greens or your whole apples, that kind of thing. Like, what are the processed or minimally processed foods that you might be able to use your NFS dollars for? And so examples can include the fruits and vegetables, including 100% juices, whole pieces or food items such as ground meat, and beans or legumes, and fluid milk and dairy foods such as cheese and yogurt. Those are all allowable items. And that foods with a wide variety of minimal processing, which means anything that's been cut, pureed, you know, is frozen, canned, dried, etc., can also be allowable. And we'll go a little bit more into the ineligible items, or items that you can totally still serve in your meal programs, but you can't request reimbursement for later in today's presentation. So again, what is minimally processed? These are products that are altered from their fresh, whole, state in some way. So for example, in this photo, there is the image of a 4-ounce ground beef burger from Walden Local that Littleton Public Schools served back in September. So they were able to request reimbursement for the ground meat because it is minimally processed from its original state. And we can go into more examples from here. So, examples of minimally processed meat and fish. Again, if you're requesting reimbursement for any of the purchases, you will need to have clarity from your distributor or from your vendor that the meat or fish is grown, raised, or caught within 400 miles of your school food authority. So a Massachusetts fisherman, the fish is from, off the coast of Chatham, that would qualify, as long as it's unprocessed or unbreaded. But 4-ounce ground hamburger patties, beef strips, ground pork, ground turkey, boneless chicken thighs, or pre-cut fillets of fish. Maybe you're not getting the whole fillet, but you're getting the pre-portioned sizes. Those are all eligible purchases if you know where the product is coming from. And the picture, as is displayed on the slide, is a plate of they called it fajita strip, julienne strips that Franklin Public Schools procured for their meal program. And they actually issued an IFB for different beef and pork products for the whole school year, because they knew they wanted to be serving more local meats, and the way that they were able to control the different vendors that they were working with, to really hone in on vendors that would be able to guarantee that they were serving local, was they did a little bit of research around what vendors provide transparency around where their meat products are coming from. So this Franklin Public Schools, last slide I referenced Walden Local, Franklin Public Schools worked with Meatworks out of Westport, Massachusetts, who works with a variety of local farmers around the southeast of New England. Other examples of minimally processed vegetables include, again, these are vegetables that need to be grown within 400 miles of your school food authority. So if you're buying these products through your distributor, ask for information about the farm of origin. Frozen broccoli florets are totally eligible if those broccoli, plants are grown in the Northeast. Pepper strips are another great example that I've seen. Peeled and cut squash, carrot coins, like the carrot coins you see displayed on the plate from Chicopee Public Schools from Joe Sikowski Farm in Hadley. Tomato sauce, if the tomatoes are from New England, and diced frozen potatoes. Those are all eligible, minimally processed foods that I've seen different districts working with. And I would say, you have a lot of control and a lot of ability with the relationships that you already have. So you don't necessarily need to go and find new vendors to get some of these products, but ask your existing distributors if they carry fresh cut items or if they carry local IQF products. You may be surprised. You'll have to do a little bit of research with your distributor if that's something that they're unable to provide, and you really want to look for alternate sources. We can get into how to add on other vendors later on in today's presentation. Examples of minimally processed fruit can include apple slices. I just received confirmation this morning that there's a vendor in Johnston, Rhode Island, who does pre-cut apple slices, and they source from New England and New York orchards that are within 400 miles of pretty much everywhere in Massachusetts. So that would be an eligible minimally processed purchase. Frozen berries that are grown in New England would qualify. Fruit purees, and certainly if it's 100% apple cider, 100% apples grown in the Northeast, that would also qualify. When we're thinking about dairy products and grain products, again, the dairy products, it needs to be from dairy sources where the cows are within 400 miles of your school food authority. As you can see on the taco plate in front of you, shredded Cabot cheddar cheese could be an allowable minimally processed item. So could plain yogurt or sour cream. We know that smoothies are pretty popular. Yogurt parfaits are pretty popular for breakfast options. And then for minimally processed grain products, we know that there is a company in Massachusetts that offers 100% local corn tortillas that would be eligible for NFS and, raw flour. We can get into more of the breaded products a little bit later, but certainly if you're doing any of your own baking and you're getting your flour from Northeast granaries that are sourcing grain from Maine or Eastern New York, those may qualify as well. Examples of ineligible food items include, a lot of your bread products, so sandwich breads, rolls, muffins, croutons, the ready-to-eat foods that USDA already indicated the Northeast Food for Schools program is not designed to reimburse you for your breaded fish or your hot dogs or chicken nuggets or mozzarella sticks, or pizza or pudding, even if there may be local components in some of those items. USDA sees those as more processed food items that you are absolutely welcome to serve in your school meal patterns, but they're just not eligible for the NFS reimbursement. And then other examples of ineligible items would be orange slices. I've yet to meet a Northeast orange grower. If you know of one, I would love to meet them. Instant mashed potatoes are not qualifying. Banana chips, again, like orange slices. We are unaware of Northeast grown bananas. And then juice mixes that are really made of fruit that we can't guarantee is from the Northeast. So I know that for some folks, they're like, wait, well, how do I find additional local foods that I can work with for my school meal pattern? I do want to share with folks how to utilize our local food map. So on the Mass Farm to School website, we have a dedicated page that's called the local food map. And I'm going to pop over and show everyone on our website how to utilize this function. And I will pivot over to the share screen in just a moment. So on this screen, if you're on the Massachusetts Farm to School website, you can get to here by clicking on the menu. Oh no, if it works. Let me just refresh. So if you click on the menu tab, we're on the local food map. So if you click on here, you will get to this page. For some folks, they want to be able to look around at the different farms that can sell to them on the map. And then there's also this spreadsheet that can be searched by product category. So for example, if you only want to look at different farms that are selling vegetables, you can filter by vegetables, you can filter by harvest of the month item. So for example, you only want different farms that are, that are selling kale, for example, you would be able to filter for vendors that are selling kale. And you can also filter by city, by phone number. If you know someone's phone number, but you just can't remember where they're from, this is a resource for you. So I would say these are the farms that we're aware of. If you already have existing relationships with vendors that you don't see on this list, let us know. We'd love to add to the list, but these are, the vendors who have opted in to wanting their information advertised to schools as different schools look for new vendors to work with. So forgive me, I'm going to pop back over to the slide deck where we will close in on the end of the presentation, and then we'll get over to the questions and answers. Great. So we just went through how to utilize the local food map through Mass Farm to School. We also worked with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education on an updated 3-quote sample. So this is a Word document that you can use. It's on the Northeast Food for Schools page on our website, and you can customize this to your specifications as far as what products you're looking for. This has been updated this fall, and it does reflect the $100,000 small purchase threshold. So especially if you're looking for to work with a vendor that you're planning to work with over the course of the year through multiple deliveries, and certainly any things that do not qualify under the 10,000, any purchases that would exceed the micro purchase threshold of $10,000, you should utilize the request for quotes if it's somewhere between $10,000 and $100,000, and a full RFP process would be needed if you plan to use over $100,000. So we also want to remind everyone that now is the time that the USDA Farm to School census is happening. So, this is a product that comes out every 4 years. And so if you haven't seen this before, but you're a relatively new school food service director, we really encourage you to respond to this. The survey results are leveraged to secure funding and resources for future farm to school initiatives. And the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education certainly is able to draw down on more information to better support school districts here in Massachusetts. Last time the farm to school census was issued, Massachusetts had a 72% response rate. And so there's certainly a healthy competition happening, or a certain healthy challenge that's happening in the state, really wanting to get school districts to respond to this. There was a unique survey link that was sent to you on October 2nd. And in the chat, we are posting the additional email address, the email contact that you can email if you're having difficulty getting a hold of that, or the toll-free number. So please, for future funding opportunities, we really would love more school districts to apply to respond to the farm to school census, so USDA can have a sense of how much local procurement is happening here in Massachusetts. And so now we'll start to pivot over. Certainly visit us online. My contact information is up there, and we're continuing to solicit photos for our terrific trays competition with DESE. And as you can see, Littleton Public Schools won in October. We are about to launch or announce the November winner next week, but we're really excited to have more highlights of what you're serving that's local around the state. I think that it's really useful when we hear from when food service directors hear from one another what products that are really working, what students like to see on the menu, and how you can work with different vendors or distributors to get the products that your kids will enjoy. This information is really helpful in us sharing what's working around the state. And from here, I'm going to pivot over and start looking at the Q&A function. Maple syrup. Does maple syrup count? As far as I understand, maple syrup is a one-item product. And so since it is derived from the sap from maple trees and boiled down, I understand maple syrup to be compliant, to be eligible as an NFS product. Your corn syrup type maple flavored syrup would not be eligible. That was a great question. If you're planning to serve maple syrup, I'd love to know when it's going to be on the menu. I just have a small suggestion, and not sending it out in breakfast in the classroom 2-ounce containers. I've had some very sticky situations with syrup during breakfast in the classroom in the past. But breakfast for lunch, when maple syrup is involved, or using maple syrup in baked bean recipes, has been a big hit. Oh, that's awesome. So the person who asked about maple syrup said that they do breakfast for lunch, and they is when they use maple syrup, and they also use it in their barbecue sauce. So that sounds delicious. I'd love to know your barbecue sauce recipe. Maybe we can do a highlight on that. Wonderful. So folks, I'll stay on for another 2 minutes unless there are a rapid fire number of questions that come in through the Q&A function. Otherwise, again, these slides will be posted shortly, as will the recording. So if you have questions and you want to go back and reference the slides, or if you have questions for me individually offline, feel free to send me an email. If you have submitted some things that look like maybe they aren't actually eligible, we will be in touch as we're currently cleaning any September submissions that came in for Northeast Food for Schools reimbursements. All right, wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for this short and sweet webinar today. I hope I provided a little bit more clarity around minimally processed foods you can use for Northeast Food for Schools reimbursements. And if you have additional questions, you know how to get in touch with me.